This planet needs protecting. It's the only one we have. And that's why we have collected a bunch of inspiring environmental stories for you. Welcome to Echo Africa, brought to you from us in Nigeria, together with our partners in Uganda and Deutsche Welle. I am Chris Alems in Lagos, Nigeria.
Hey Chris, and welcome from Uganda. I am Sandra Twinobdio right here in Kampala, and I am so pleased to be with you again. This is what we have in store for you this week. Why solar power and agriculture are such a good mix. Why hydroponic farming is making a splash in Tunisia. And how Spiderman is helping to fight against litter in Nigeria. Let's begin here in Uganda, which has been losing its tree cover at a shocking rate. Global Forest Watch says 12% of its trees, covering nearly 1 million hectares, have gone since 2000. One big reason is that people are still cutting down forests to make firewood. But there are other ways to cook. We went to find people who are fighting against this trend.
In a way, Rashid Sempa is carrying the future of his country on his shoulders. No trees have been felled to make the 25 kilograms of briquettes that he's brought to his snack stand in a Kampala suburb. Sempa has also benefited financially since he switched to cooking with biofuel about a year ago.
The briquettes have helped me to save money. I used to spend 30,000 Ugandan shillings on charcoal every 2 days. If I spend the same amount on briquettes, I can cook for almost 8 days. They burn for much longer.
The biofuel that's cooking Rashid Sempa's crispy snacks is made from biodegradable matter like agricultural waste. It first has to be carbonized, then crushed into a fine powder. This is key for compacting it into a solid, efficient fuel source. This company is called Green Bioenergy. Its director, Hillington Ziwa, says they're continuing to scale up the production of biofuel as a clean cooking alternative to wood fuel.
After realization of the challenges of deforestation that were growing in Uganda in 2011 and before, as well as the unemployment rates that were existing. And as such, the idea was pivoted in 2011, where the company would innovate, produce, and distribute eco-friendly solutions.
Traditional charcoal is made from trees. It's always been in high demand in Uganda. More than 80% of the population are thought to rely on it. But this cheap energy source has come at a very high price. Like in much of Africa, the country's lucrative charcoal industry is responsible for massive deforestation. Uganda has banned large-scale commercial charcoal production in some regions, and forestry authorities point to biofuel as a sustainable alternative.
Briquettes can be made from leaves. Briquettes can be made from offcuts, what we call offcuts. If you are cutting timber, for example, whatever you throw away which you don't need, you can go and carbonize it and then you get briquettes. And the briquettes can be made from crop residue. So it is a more sustainable source of energy because it uses less and then it is more energy efficient.
Environmental scientist Mary Kagwa agrees that eco-friendly briquettes can be an affordable step in the clean energy transition. But she says the government needs to provide incentives to encourage more production.
They're not giving it a priority to push these innovations to move to a higher level such that people can look at them as serious alternatives and we stop looking at charcoal, for example.
Green bioenergy is showing the way. Thanks to the ready supply of biomass waste from Uganda's agriculture sector, Hillington Ziwa's company can turn out more than 50 tons of briquettes a month, making it one of the largest biofuel producers in Uganda. But the supply is still limited, as Kampala street vendor Rashid Sempa knows all too well.
Location we gali
There are only a few locations where you can buy these briquettes, unlike charcoal, which you can find on almost every street corner. Sometimes we have to order them, sometimes they run out of stock.
To address that, Ziwa is training communities to make their own briquettes. That, in turn, is helping to empower women and other local residents, going well beyond supplying their neighborhood with their own energy source.
We learn to make the briquettes to supply our own needs, but also sell some for extra income. Now, if a child needs a book for school, for example, we can buy it. We've also started a savings scheme for our members.
Even though biofuel briquettes still create emissions of their own, by replacing wood-based fuels, the hope is that Uganda's forests can continue to absorb carbon and safeguard biodiversity.
1 kg of briquettes allow for an estimate of 14.6 kg of CO2 offset. Briquettes will also allow for green tree preservation, and as such, 1 kg of briquettes can allow for 25 kilograms of green trees preserved.
And besides saving the environment, if biofuel briquettes can also save people money, they might well be a big part of the future of Uganda and the rest of Africa too.
That example from here in Uganda shows that people can actually find alternatives to harmful practices. Our next report demonstrates how new technology can combine with traditional farming methods to produce something greater than the sum of its parts.
That's right, Sandra. We're talking about agrivoltaic farming, which is growing crops and breeding livestock under solar panels. The farmers get to generate power, and at the same time, crops and animals get much needed shelter from the sun. We checked out some examples in Africa and Germany.
Good to have you in Germany, huh?
Yes, thank you. Thank you. And this is really beautiful.
A delegation from Malawi is visiting an agricultural project in Rathenow, a town outside Berlin. On this farm, crops are being grown under solar panels. The visitors from Africa are here to see exactly how it works.
We have a lot of farmers, but that just depends on using the hoe, you know. So we can't do much because we don't have the capacity to have machinery and everything, like to put up this thing. So I feel like if, as a government, if we can do, you know, this sort of farming can turn things for better.
The agrivoltaic company Sun Farming has been cultivating fruit, vegetables, berries, and herbs here for 2 years now. Nearly anything can be grown under the solar panels. The modules are positioned at a height that lets in plenty of daylight, but blocks potentially harmful direct sunlight. Another advantage of the system is that the building components can be recycled.
It's 100% steel and glass and able to last 50 years in Africa. And it can all be recycled. The structures can be dismantled and resold. The material has good salvage value and is always in demand. Steel is always needed. The materials in the modules can be used to build houses or storage sheds.
When water flows over the modules, if it's raining or if they're being cleaned, it collects in a gutter system. This distributes the water evenly in the ground. It also enlarges the size of the water droplets, which allows more liquid to get into the subsoil, so the ground stays moist even in dry periods.
In Africa, we also have to use drip irrigation to aid vegetable cultivation, because certain regions are now just completely arid. So we collect the rainfall there is and dispense it in small doses using a pump powered by solar energy.
Summers are also getting drier in Germany. Here, 90% of the crops are grown with the help of a drip irrigation system that saves water. The electricity needed to power the system is less than 1% of the amount produced by this solar array. Students from the Brandenburg University of Technology are also monitoring the project to learn more. They're using sensors to study the microclimate under the modules. They measure light intensity, humidity, and the temperature both in the air and the soil around the plant's roots. At regular intervals, they also measure the rain that's been collected in these containers.
You can see how much the solar panels expand the surface area for catching rainwater. We've noticed that in colder times of year, it's significantly warmer under the modules than in the open air. On average, it's 1 to 2 degrees warmer under the modules. And we found that during dry spells, it's significantly damper under the modules than in the open air.
Animals also feel comfortable in the shade of the solar modules. The piles are driven into the ground and are sturdy enough to withstand changing weather, so there's no need for a concrete floor. The structures serve as airy, light-filled sheds for the animals, sheltering them from rain, hailstorms, birds of prey, and scorching sun. The visitors from Malawi are impressed with the environmentally friendly setup.
Malawi has got fresh water. Like throughout the country, 1/3 of the country is water. But when you look at our neighboring countries, for example, Botswana don't even have a lake. So if we are going to do a lot of this kind of farming, we'll be able even to sell to our neighboring countries and make money and boost our economy.
In this supermarket in Potchefstroom, South Africa, customers can buy vegetables and herbs produced by Sun Farming. But for now, only small quantities are available, as they come from a small facility built for research purposes. It's located only a few kilometers away. Here, Sun Farming has been exploring how food cultivation and solar energy production can be combined. The researchers have been experimenting with different soil bases for the plants.
Yeah, it fits with energy, and at the location where we are planting, it's different totally. Because at the location we are planting on the floor, and here we are using cocoa fibers, and then we are using the solar. It's the energy and the plant. They both make a great combination.
No need for diesel generators to produce power here. There are 2 vegetable seasons a year. In winter, broccoli and cauliflower are grown. And in summer, tomatoes, bell peppers, and cucumbers. Herbs and spinach are grown all year round. But drought is a growing problem in rural South Africa, too. Winters in the northwest region are dry and cold, while in the summer, violent thunderstorms and hailstorms wreak havoc on crops, as does the increasingly fierce sun. Here, agrivoltaics, or agri-PV, can make a real difference.
The one extreme is wine farming in the Western Cape, where climate change is creating conditions where farmers now need to protect their crop. And the alternative, in contrast to that, you also get cattle farming, where due to climate change, the land is getting so dry that the carrying capacity of the veld is reduced. And with agri-PV, you can increase that and have more cattle per hectare.
In the meantime, the German company has constructed a large agrivoltaics plant in Madagascar for almost 3 million euros. The project includes a training facility where locals are trained in this form of agriculture and the use of solar technology. It's hoped that solutions like these will help improve food security in Africa, while also creating new, high-quality skilled jobs for the people here.
A country with plenty of sun is Tunisia, but there's just not enough water. This North African country has been suffering from severe drought for years. In 2023, the government restricted using water for drinking, farming, and street cleaning. It's especially tough for farmers, but we met one who is growing tasty crops with just a fraction of the normal water use. Here's this week's Doing Your Bit.
Farmer Skander Kassem takes great pride in his basil plants. They don't have their roots in soil, but directly in water, and yet the technique actually saves water.
What sets hydroponics apart from conventional farming methods, the most crucial factor for us, is that it allows us to use 95% less water. That's because the water is in a cycle where we recapture and recycle it, feeding it back into the system.
With conventional farming methods, most of the water soaks into the soil. In Tunisia, that means transporting the water over long distances. That's why farmers here are looking to be more efficient in their water usage. But that's not the only advantage of hydroponics.
Almost no water wastage is one element, but this system also saves on fertilizer, which is key. The plants need a nutrient solution that's very expensive because it has to be imported from outside Tunisia.
Whether growing basil, tomatoes, peppers or melons, hydroponic farming requires up to 80% less fertilizer. Business is booming. Skarnik Hassam's startup has so far doubled its revenue every year.
And how about you? If you're also doing your bit, tell us about it. Visit our website or send us a tweet. #DoingYourBit. We share your stories.
Human-made climate change, which is worsening Tunisia's drought, is a challenge we all have to face too. Another is protecting nature's diversity and splendor from damage, which can happen when people are unaware of the global importance of the places they live in, such as bird breeding and migration areas. One way to avoid that is by international certification of a special biosphere. We now look at one local initiative that is seeking recognition of a unique part of Sierra Leone's coastline.
Village weavers, finches and pelicans are just a few of the bird species found in Yori Bay on the west coast of Sierra Leone. The best place for bird spotting is out on the water. It's a veritable paradise, says Abdullahi Dauda.
Yori Bay is very much beautiful. It harbors a lot of biodiversity, especially endemic bird species, and it is one of the most important places for birds conservation in Sierra Leone.
Yori Bay is home to thousands of hectares of tidal mudflats and mangrove forests that cover an area larger than 46,000 football fields. These wetlands are a habitat for migratory birds such as herons and waders. Yori Bay is popular with local birding clubs founded by the Conservation Society of Sierra Leone and the African Bird Club. The aim is to raise awareness among locals and boost protection efforts. The Bird Club members collect important information about the country's many native bird species. In the more remote parts of Sierra Leone, these have never been properly studied by ornithologists. Information on the birds they manage to spot is entered into an app. This also helps them recognize species. In their January 2023 census, they've identified 44 species and counted a total of more than 22,000 birds.
The app is important because through the app, you will be able to see so many birds, so many species of them different, especially the migratory birds, the forest birds, how they are flying, their sounds.
Yori Bay is an important but fragile habitat for birds. Even though it's a marine protected area, some of the mangrove forests have been cleared to make way for farming or to use the wood to make charcoal. The conservationists want the area to be designated a Ramsar site, a wetland of international importance. The data collected by the ornithologists and the bird club members helps their case.
For a site to be qualified as a Ramsar site, one of the criteria states that that place should be a birding area. The bird population in that area should at least represent 1% of the total population worldwide. And with the research that was done by CSSL, it was made known to us that we have more than 1%, more than the quota that is required by Ramsar. So that gave Ramsar the urge to declare that place to be a Ramsar site.
For ornithologist Momo Sese, An official Ramsar certification would not only help boost conservation in the country, but also tourism. Birding tours are a small but increasingly significant aspect of the country's tourism sector. Sierra Leone is attracting growing numbers of enthusiastic bird watchers.
Over for the 20 years that I'll be doing bird tours in Sierra Leone, there are a lot of bird companies and tour operators who have contacted me in Sierra Leone, especially like international who are coming to Sierra Leone. So there is an increase in tourism, especially in bird tours, which I'm using to sustain my family for the quite while.
For now, much of the area is completely unspoiled. The mangrove forest and the mudflats which border them, and which regularly overflow, are home to common species such as grey herons, but also endangered species. The Conservation Society hopes the growing popularity of bird clubs will help protection efforts.
Why the Birds Club are important is to expand the knowledge of the young citizen scientists who are coming up and open their mindset in terms of bird conservation and why is it important to conserve birds. And right across the country, we have 4 bird clubs in the regions with about 40 members. And as Conservation Society of Sierra Leone, we are trying to empower these bird club members, give them the awareness, bring them on board and see the needs of bird protection in the country.
The coastal ecosystem of Yori Bay is home to some of West Africa's richest biodiversity. The local bird clubs are helping to raise its profile, increasing the chances that this natural habitat will remain intact.
It's good to see such vital biotopes are being appreciated. Let's hope that approach catches on.
Now, from birds to spiders, or actually to Spiderman, the crime-busting vigilante has been spotted on the streets of Nigeria, where he is cleaning up trouble of a different kind. We went to meet the masked marvel with a very special superpower, environmental awareness.
Action is his reward. Out and about in the Nigerian town of Osogbo, Spiderman is on a mission to clean up the streets. The superhero, also known as Jonathan Olanlokun, is an environmental activist. He says that having an alter ego has really made people pay attention.
2021, I started wearing the Spider-Man costume and I started having positive results. People started taking me serious and I'm happy about this. There's joy in me. People are now more concerned about the environment than before.
Jonathan's mission goes far beyond just cleaning the streets. He wants to inspire others to stop carelessly throwing away their trash. He's certainly made an impression at the local market.
Teach us how to keep our environment clean. So I thank this man as what he's doing now, that is making our compound to clean.
For years, Nigeria's population has been growing rapidly, and so has the amount of garbage generated. Many people simply dispose of their trash in the street. The lack of a functioning waste management system makes things worse. So, environmentalists say people need to take matters into their own hands.
We cannot all wait until government, do something for us. We should begin to even teach the government the right thing by ensuring that we take that step that government itself can now emulate. Jonathan is ensuring that his environment is not just good for him to live, the environment is also intact for the coming generation to use.
Say, our environmental officer, please, we need you in our area. We are saying it.
And that generation also needs to understand the importance of keeping the environment clean. Jonathan Olanlokun makes it clear you don't have to be a superhero. It's something they can do themselves.
You are blessed, you are blessed. What I do is so important because I still wake up in the morning and I still see waste everywhere. And I want to see a society that is free of waste.
Jonathan says it's amazing the difference that just one person can make. So he plans to keep morphing into Spiderman and cleaning up the streets, fighting not crime, but garbage.
What a guy. But as Spiderman says, anyone can wear the mask. Well, it's goodbye from Nigeria. Thank you for watching.
And bye from me right here in Uganda. If you want to know more about Eco-Africa, just look on social media. And we'll see you next time, same place, same time. Bye-bye.